Hello and welcome to Wisdom Wednesday. I'm Rose Armstrong from Wounded Women Rising. Each week, we come together to talk about healing after abuse and creating a life that feels like your own. Today, we're talking about emotional regulation and triggers. Now, the word triggers gets used a lot these days. Sometimes people use it to describe something that makes them angry. Sometimes they use it to describe something that brings up a painful memory. But for our conversation today, I want to keep it simple. A trigger is anything that creates an emotional reaction inside of you. It is that moment when something happens and suddenly you feel hurt, angry, embarrassed, anxious, guilty, afraid, or overwhelmed. The trigger itself is not the problem. The emotion is not the problem. The challenge comes when the emotion takes over and we react before we have a chance to think. Let's talk about what that looks like in everyday life. Most women I speak with experience similar triggers. It can be helpful to think of triggers in two categories: external triggers and internal triggers. External triggers come from something happening around us. Internal triggers come from something happening inside of us. Both can be powerful emotional reactions, and both deserve our attention. External triggers are often easier to recognize because we can usually identify what happened. A particular smell, such as cologne, alcohol, or cigarette smoke, can suddenly bring up uncomfortable feelings. A sound, like a raised voice, a slammed door, or even a certain song, can create an immediate emotional reaction. Certain places can be difficult. Driving past a house, walking into a building, or visiting a location connected to a difficult period can bring those emotions to the surface. People can also be triggers. You can encounter someone who reminds you of a difficult relationship, or resembles someone from your past, or is connected to a challenging chapter of your life. Dates and anniversaries can affect us as well. Certain times of the year may bring up emotions, even before we consciously recognize why. Even things we see in the media can stir emotions. A news story, a movie scene, or something that appears in your social media feed. All of those can unexpectedly affect us. For some women, physical touch or intimacy can also bring up uncomfortable feelings, even when the contact is welcome and completely safe. If any of these have happened to you, you're not alone. Many women are surprised by how powerful these reactions can be. Internal triggers can be more difficult to recognize because there is often nothing obvious happening around us. Yet, the emotional reactions feel just as real. Perhaps someone dismisses your opinion. Maybe a situation leaves you feeling trapped. Maybe you feel unheard, unseen, or powerless. Maybe it feels uncertain and you don't know what comes next. Those feelings alone can create a powerful emotional reaction. Sometimes the trigger comes from what is happening in your body: a racing heart, tension in the shoulders, tightness in the chest, or that knot in your stomach. Memories can surface unexpectedly as well. A thought like, I should have known better. Why did I stay so long? What's wrong with me? I should be over this by now. An image from a photograph or even a magazine article can cause a reaction. Emotional responses can be particularly strong when memories suddenly appear. Even a few words spoken inside your own mind can create the same emotional reaction as something happening outside of you. One of the most important things to understand is this: a trigger is not a sign that you're moving backwards. A trigger is simply something that asks for your attention. The goal is not to eliminate every trigger. The goal is to recognize them so you can respond rather than react. When emotions show up strongly, many women immediately begin judging themselves. Why am I so sensitive? Why can't I let this go? Why am I reacting like this? Instead of judging yourself, become curious. That one shift can create enough space to make a different choice. Curiosity opens the door to understanding. Judgment closes it. Rather than asking, what is wrong with me? Try asking, what am I feeling right now? That question moves you from reaction into awareness. And awareness is where change begins. Recognizing triggers is helpful, but recognition is only the beginning. The real question is, what do we do when those emotions show up? Most of us were never taught what to do. We learned to push our feelings aside, judge ourselves for having them, or react before we had a chance to think. Over the years, I have found a simple process that has helped me, and I'm hoping that it will help you. It won't make the difficult emotions disappear, but it can create enough space so you can make a different choice. The process is notice, name, nurture, and choose. Notice is the first step. When you're triggered, notice what's happening inside of you. Notice the tension in the shoulders. Notice the knot in your stomach. Notice your racing thoughts. Notice the urge to defend yourself, explain, withdraw, fix, or please. You do not need to change anything yet. Simply notice. Awareness is powerful. You cannot work with what you do not see. The second step is name. What are you feeling? Many women skip this step. They know they feel upset, but they don't know exactly what the emotion is. Try putting simple words to it. I feel hurt. I feel disappointed. I feel embarrassed. I feel afraid. I feel angry. I feel rejected. Many women find this more difficult than you might expect. We often know we're upset, but we don't know exactly what we're feeling. We might say we're angry when we're actually hurt. We might say we're frustrated when we're actually disappointed. We might say we're fine when we're feeling lonely anxious, or overwhelmed. The more accurately we can identify what we're feeling, the easier it becomes to understand what we need. Naming an emotion doesn't make it disappear, but it often makes the experience feel less confusing. Instead of being swept away by the feeling, we begin to understand it. If you're struggling to identify emotions, you're not alone. Most of us were never taught how to build that vocabulary. To help with that, I've created a free guide called Finding the Words: An Emotions Guide for Women. It contains a list of emotions that can help you identify what you may be experiencing when you're unsure of what's going on inside of you. If you'd like me to send you a copy, you'll find a link in the description. Once you've named the emotion, there is often a temptation to immediately fix it or explain it or push it away. Many of us have spent years doing exactly that. But emotions are not problems to solve. They're experiences to move through. And that brings us to the third step: nurture. This is where you respond to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. You do not need to solve anything at the moment. You do not need to figure out why you feel this way. You simply need to care for yourself in the moment. And caring for yourself is easier than you think. It's as simple as taking a few deep breaths, going for a walk, even stepping outside. Drinking a glass of water helps. I especially like putting my hands over my heart because it connects me to myself. And you stay there for a moment or two. Sitting quietly for a few minutes helps. And especially speaking to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. This is not avoidance. This is creating enough calm to think clearly. When strong emotions show up, the mind often treats them like an emergency. Everything starts moving quickly. Your thoughts race, your attention narrows, you feel an urge to do something immediately, like fix it, defend yourself, or even withdraw. Nurturing yourself helps slow down that process. It helps your body realize that in this moment, you are okay. It helps settle the alarm bells and create space for your wisdom to catch up with your emotions. And that space is where better choices are made. And the final step is choose. Once the emotion settles a little, ask yourself, what response would I be proud of tomorrow? I love this question because it reminds me that this moment is not the whole story. There will be a tomorrow. And the choices we make today will shape how we feel about ourselves when tomorrow arrives. Later, when you get a chance to reflect on the situation, you get to choose what to do next time. Maybe you need to have a conversation. Maybe you should wait longer before responding. Maybe you need to set a boundary. Maybe it's time to let something go. There isn't one correct response, and the goal is not perfection. The goal is responding intentionally rather than reacting automatically. That's really what the choose step is about. It's not making the right choice. Choosing is making a conscious choice. A choice that aligns with your values, your self-respect, and the life you are creating. Emotional regulation is not about never getting upset. It's not about pretending everything is fine. And it's not about pushing your feelings away. It is about learning to recognize what you're feeling, caring for yourself in the moment, and making choices that reflect who you want to be. Notice, name, nurture, choose. The truth is, emotions are not the enemy. Emotions are information. They tell us something important is happening inside of us. When we learn to listen without being controlled by them, we become calmer, wiser, and more confident in our choices. And that changes the way we move through the world. As we close today, my wish for you is this. May you meet your emotions with curiosity instead of judgment. May you give yourself the same kindness you so freely offer to others. May you learn to pause before reacting, listen to what your heart is telling you, and choose your next step with wisdom and grace. And may each small moment of awareness help you build greater confidence in yourself and in the life you are creating, with warmth from your heart and strength for your inner world. And that's enough for today. I'll see you next week.